Hello everyone, Nabil Qureshi with Creed 26 Ministries. Welcome to this 8th video in our 9-video series on Islam 101, investigating the basics of Islam. This video is going to talk about the sects of Islam. Now, there are many sects and denominations within Islam, and there's also more divisions, for example, movements, schools of thought, etc. I'm not going to get into the intricate niceties of the differences between these terms. I'm just going to introduce you to the variety of beliefs that are in Islam. It's certainly not a monolith, and we have to remember that when we're talking with our friends. They could believe something very different from other people who also call themselves Muslim. Just to emphasize, some of these terms I'm about to give you are not mutually exclusive. Some Sufis consider themselves Shia, other Sufis consider themselves Sunni. Some Sufis don't consider themselves either. The same with Ahmadis. Some consider them to be Sunni, some people consider them to be their own sect, some people consider Ahmadis to not be Muslims at all. And so it depends on whom you ask. The most important division to discuss is the Sunni-Shia divide. Now, the Sunnis make up the majority of Muslims, so if you run into a Muslim, chances are 8 out of 10 that you're running into a Sunni. Shias make up somewhere between 10 to 15% of the Muslims. Now, the division between Sunni and Shia happened very early in Islamic history. When Muhammad died, Abu Bakr was considered the caliph, well, at least by Sunnis. Shias believed that the procession of leadership didn't go to Abu Bakr, but went to Muhammad's family, specifically to Ali, his cousin. Now, Sunnis believed that Ali was the 4th Khalifa, the 4th Caliph. Regardless, Shia believed that the procession of leadership should have went through the bloodline of Muhammad. We see a tremendous amount of bloodshed over this issue very early in Islamic history. Aisha, the wife of Muhammad, goes out to battle against Ali, his cousin, and on this day, tens of thousands of Muslims die. Today, depending on who you ask, some Sunnis will say Shias are Muslim, some will say they're not, and vice versa. Within Sunni Islam, there are divisions of schools of thought. You've got the Hanbali, the Hanafi, the Maliki, and the Shafi schools of thought. The same can be said for Shia schools of thought. You've got the Imami or the Twelver school, you've got the Zaydi, and you've got the Ismaili. And there are many, many more. These are just the larger ones, the more popular ones that we can refer to briefly. For the most part, the divisions within Sunni Islam and within Shia Islam are minor. Differences in the application of hadith or minor theological issues. Now, it should be mentioned at this point that the hadith that the Shia use are quite different from the hadith that the Sunni use. The reasons why, if you recall back to one of the earlier videos, is that the hadith authenticity is based off of chains of transmission, isnad. And the Shia think various people are trustworthy whom the Sunni don't consider trustworthy, and vice versa. Now, there are more differences between Sunni and Shia, for example, eschatology, the coming of the Mahdi, exactly who the Mahdi is, how the Messiah will reappear, etc. But these are issues that are far too detailed for this introductory video. Apart from the Sunni-Shia divide, there are other sects and divisions in Islam that bear mentioning. One controversial division within Islam is the Sufi division. Now, Sufis are generally referred to as mystics, who emphasize a relationship with Allah. Certain Sufis would say that once you get to their point of Sufism, you can leave behind your Shia or Sunni affiliation. A lot of Muslims would consider those Sufis, at least, to be non-Muslim. As well, there's a movement in Islam known as the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam. This is actually the sect that I came from. These Muslims will engage in the 5 pillars and the 6 articles of faith, just like every other Sunni Muslim, but they believe that Jesus, who's going to come back at the end of times, has already come in the form of a man named Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. This distinction between Ahmadi Muslims and all other Muslims is enough to garner Ahmadis the title of Kafir or non-believers. The take-home message is that the major division in Islam is the Sunni-Shia divide. There are all kinds of minor sects and movements within those two divisions, and outside sects, which some Muslims do not consider Muslim at all. Don't approach a Muslim as if you know beforehand everything he believes. He could believe any of a wide range of beliefs and still call himself a Muslim. And so my exhortation to you is to be very familiar with different types of Islam and to speak specifically to the person whom you have in your mind and in your heart to connect to. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll come back to creed26.com to learn more about the origins of Islam and Christianity. Check out the description of this video to learn more details about what you've just heard. The last video we're going to have is going to be on jihad, and so I hope you stick around to learn about that. Thank you very much. God bless you all. I'm going to pull a Columbo and say that there's just one more thing. Some of you may have heard the term Salafi or Wahhabi in the media. Now, the term Salafi refers to the Salaf, the first 3 generations of Muslims. There's a hadith in which Muhammad said that the first 3 generations of Muslims are going to be the best of Muslims. And so some of them will turn to the Salaf generations to see how Islam should ideally be lived. Depending on whom you ask, Wahhabism is a subsection of Salafi Islam or something similar. Now we have to ask the question, why is this growing? Well, first, the Saudi Arabian government has really focused on Wahhabi Islam. They've really espoused components of it, and it has spread like wildfire through that region over the past few decades. But probably more importantly, at least from my opinion, Salafi Islam has spread because people have more access to the primary sources. In days past, people would have to ask a mufti or a sheikh about Islam. They couldn't just go and read themselves about what Muhammad did in certain situations and circumstances. But now, since people have access to the primary sources, they can see how the earliest Muslims lived their lives. And they're coming away with Salafi Wahhabi beliefs. Yes, you're understanding me correctly. I think Wahhabi Islam and Salafi Islam are the closest to Muhammad's practiced form of Islam. That's what they're intending to do, and I think they're doing it effectively. Now, a lot of scholars believe that this trend will continue as the madhabs, the 4 schools of Sunni thought, continue to disintegrate. People focus on them less and less, and they're defaulting to a Salafi form of Islam. Interesting stuff. Well, I hope this little tidbit at the end of this video has helped you understand a little bit more about the terms that are being flung around in the media. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end.